I felt when I saw it, I'm like you, I don't go that much into the feeling. I want to go, wait a minute,
People think they know what grief looks like in Hollywood, but they're only seeing the polished version. All black clothes, calm voices, public statements written by PR teams, and sadness that feels rehearsed. It's distant, almost robotic. But what's happening with Shirley MacLaine right now, wow, it's nothing like that. Not even close. This isn't a performance. It's raw, unfiltered, and honestly, a little uncomfortable to watch. Shirley MacLaine, who's spent over 70 years in the spotlight, has lived through eras most people only read about. And now, at 91, she's finally saying what she really thinks. People are paying attention not because she's shouting, but because she's done covering for things that no longer deserve protection. What's really shocking everyone is that Shirley isn't just mourning Rob Reiner's passing, she's revealing what was going on before everything fell apart. What she shared totally changes how people see this whole situation and exposes layers no one expected. And the best part? No fancy cameras, no staged questions, no PR timing, just the truth, straight from her. This was a private chat from Shirley's home just yesterday, and wow, it's shaking things up. The stuff she said has some powerful folks feeling real uneasy, especially the ones who thought they knew exactly what life inside the Reiner home was like. But here's the twist that's got everyone talking. Shirley didn't sound emotional in the way people expected, no soft crying, no sentimental stories, not even a rest in peace tone. She sounded furious, worn out, like someone who's seen this same Hollywood pattern too many times and is done pretending it's just fate. She made it clear what happened to Rob Reiner wasn't random at all. She said something had been closing in on him, something he could feel coming but didn't know how to face. And according to Shirley, the most painful part was that Rob's biggest blind spot was tied to something no parent ever wants to admit exists. That's what hit people so hard. See, Shirley and Rob go way back decades deep. This wasn't some fake Hollywood friendship, they shared real history. Before fame turned into filters, they worked, argued, and created side by side, pushing each other to be better. And even with her reputation for talking about spirituality and past lives, Shirley's never been out of touch. She's always had a sharp instinct for reading people right now. What Shirley saw during her last visit with Rob still haunts her. She told friends that about 3 weeks before everything came crashing down, Rob just wasn't himself anymore. The fiery voice everyone knew from TV was gone, his spark, humor, and confidence had faded. She used one word to describe it, and it's been echoing ever since: shrinking. She said when she sat with Rob and Michelle, the whole room felt heavy, like the air itself was tense. Conversation didn't flow, it felt forced, almost painful. Rob barely spoke, barely smiled. Instead of his usual charm, he kept staring out the window, eyes fixed on the driveway. And according to Shirley, he wasn't just lost in thought, he was waiting, watching, nervous about who might show up next. That tiny detail changes everything. From that moment, the story turns from sad to straight up unsettling. Shirley said the family already knew that Nick had been spiraling long before anyone outside stepped in. And this wasn't just a bad mood or burnout, it was a full mental breakdown, tangled with anger and entitlement. A mix that scared even Rob. She said Rob truly believed he could fix it with patience, money, and love. But Shirley told him straight up, that plan was never going to work. Shirley warned Rob straight up, trying to smooth over something that deep would only delay the explosion, not stop it. And now, looking back, she's convinced he knew that too, deep down, but just couldn't face what it meant. That's what really breaks people. It wasn't ignorance, it was denial. Not cruelty, just hope in the wrong place. And Shirley? She sounds like someone who's done sitting quiet while the same painful pattern repeats again and again. This story stopped being about grief a long time ago. It's now about the red flags no one wanted to see, the blind spots families hide, and that dangerous myth that love can fix everything. Shirley MacLaine clearly hit her limit. She didn't sugarcoat a thing. She looked Rob right in the eye and said, "You're feeding a shark and hoping it turns into a dolphin." That line is everywhere right now, and for good reason. Because as new, verified details come out, it's looking like Shirley wasn't exaggerating at all. She was warning him. And this is where we need to keep things real, not twisted by gossip. What's coming to light is being backed up by people.
Why do you like living in New Mexico?
It's like the sign. It's an enchanted place. It's a land of enchantment.
Santa Fe.
Yeah. I live at 8.
And what Shirley hinted at, this wasn't one random meltdown. It was a buildup that had been brewing for a long, long time. This wasn't some sudden breakdown. It was a slow, dangerous buildup that had been simmering behind closed doors for months. Reports say police had shown up at the Brentwood home more than once last October and November. But none of that ever hit the news. No records, no headlines, and that's no coincidence. When someone like Rob Reiner has serious pull, things can quietly disappear. Cops can be calmed, reports can be softened, and everything gets labeled as just a family issue. That's exactly what Rob did, not because he was blind to the danger, but because he couldn't stand the idea of his son being dragged through public shame. Even as things got worse, he tried to protect Nick's name, tried to keep him from becoming a headline the world would never forget. But tragically, that's exactly how it ended. Shirley talked about the image now burned into everyone's mind, Nick's face on the news, and she didn't try to soften it. She said when she saw it, she didn't even recognize the same kid she'd watched grow up. What she saw instead was emptiness, no emotion, no life, no spark. That moment shook her to the core. And here's where it gets even deeper. Tom Cruise, who shared a long history with Rob, quietly echoed the same feeling in private talks after everything unfolded. Their bond went way back. A Few Good Men wasn't just another movie. It was a defining chapter for both of them. Their bond ran deep way beyond the Hollywood surface. Tom Cruise has always been known for his fierce loyalty, and sources say he was one of the first to quietly step in, arranging private security for Roy and Jake, Rob's surviving sons. That move alone shows how serious things really were behind the curtain. Even Tom, someone who's seen Hollywood's darkest extremes, was reportedly shaken by what insiders say went down inside that house. Because this wasn't about some random break-in or a simple argument gone too far, it was about control. Sure, money played a part, but the real issue ran deeper. This was about a man who thought the world owed him everything, just because of his last name, and parents who loved him so much they couldn't draw the hard line that might have saved everyone. Shirley spoke with real heartbreak when she mentioned Michelle Reiner. She described Michelle as the peacemaker, the one who always stepped in between Rob and Nick when things started to boil, the buffer, the calm in the storm. And that's what makes it so painful. Shirley believes Michelle's instinct to protect might be what placed her right in harm's way that night. Not out of recklessness, but out of love. And what Shirley's revealing isn't just about one family, it's a mirror to a bigger Hollywood pattern. She's calling out something that keeps repeating. When parents become legends, their kids often grow up chasing shadows they can never outrun. They couldn't escape it. Rob Reiner wasn't just a filmmaker, he was an institution. And for Nick, that legacy didn't bring pride, it built pressure, bitterness, and deep resentment. Shirley recalled a talk she'd had with Michelle months earlier, and now it feels downright chilling. Michelle admitted they were planning to change the locks on the guest house, not out of cruelty, but out of fear. That one small detail says everything. This wasn't some shock out of nowhere. It had been building slowly, silently, for months. A storm everyone could feel coming but couldn't stop. Shirley sounded fed up, like someone who's done pretending these family patterns don't exist. And those locks? They weren't meant to keep out strangers. They were meant to keep Nick out when he wasn't in control. Just think about that for a second. Living behind gates in Brentwood, surrounded by wealth, cameras, and guards, and still feeling unsafe in your own home because of your own child. That's a kind of fear nobody ever talks about. Rob and Michelle weren't trapped by fame or fortune. They were trapped by love. They couldn't bring themselves to call the authorities the way outsiders might say they should have, because no matter how bad things got, Nick was still their son. That's the emotional prison Shirley MacLaine laid bare, and it's absolutely chilling. But the most shocking part of what she revealed wasn't just what happened inside that home, it was the silence wrapped around it. Shirley didn't hold back. She called out everyone who stayed silent. She said there were agents, managers, and so-called friends who knew Nick wasn't stable. People who heard the threats, saw his behavior getting worse, and still kept inviting him into places he had no business being. They kept feeding his ego, acting like it was just artistic chaos when it was really something dangerous simmering right in front of them. Shirley made it crystal clear. This silence wasn't about not knowing, it was about comfort. At 91, she's got nothing left to protect, no careers to guard, no favors to owe. She called out the whole Hollywood culture that lets these situations spiral while everyone stays polite. She said people literally watched Nick fall apart in real time and still chose manners over confrontation just because they didn't want to ruin dinner vibes. Now that everything's public, it's obvious why the Reiner family is shattered and why the legal battle ahead is going to be brutal. Nick's lawyer, Alan Jackson, isn't someone you call for small messes. She's the guy for cases already drowning in trouble. The plan's predictable. blame it on a mental health collapse, claim confusion, argue diminished responsibility. But Shirley MacLaine's not buying it, and from what's being whispered, neither is the district attorney. The quiet details being confirmed paint a completely different picture. Without getting graphic, the evidence points to intent and follow-through. This wasn't confusion. It wasn't panic. It was something far more deliberate. The forensic reports tell a chilling story. Actions were taken after everything ended. Moves that show awareness and intention. Investigators believe someone tried to clean up, buy time, even hide traces, and that matters because it proves there was understanding of what had just happened. It shows consciousness, and that's what makes this case feel heavier with every new detail that drops. The only faint light in all this darkness has been the quiet support around Rob's surviving sons, Jake and Roy. Big names like Tom Cruise have stepped in behind the scenes, offering protection and comfort without turning it into a publicity stunt. But even that safety feels delicate, like it could break any second. And Shirley summed it up perfectly. No amount of fame, awards, or connections could stop the storm that was already building inside Rob's own living room. That truth hits everyone hard, even in Hollywood. When Shirley talks, her words carry real spiritual weight. She said Rob stayed in that house, stayed in that chaos, because he believed love could heal it all, fix addiction, calm rage, undo years of damage. That's what breaks hearts the most. It's the tragic flaw of good parents. They think love can protect them from everything. But as Shirley said, love isn't armor when you're dealing with demons. Sometimes love doesn't protect you, it paints a target right on your back. And that's exactly what makes this timeline so chilling. Authorities showed up around 10 p.m., but reports hint that everything reached its breaking point way earlier. That means there's this dark, missing window of time no one can fully explain. Who did Nick talk to during those lost hours? Did he call someone for help or for advice that made things worse? Whispers are spreading unconfirmed, but steady about a call to someone known for fixing problems. If that turns out to be true, this case could explode in scope fast. Shirley even hinted that investigators are digging through phone records, not just to piece together the night, but to map out the entire web around Nick, the suppliers, the enablers, and the people who kept draining him while pushing him to demand more from Rob and Michelle. It's unsettling on every level. Two people who built their careers on stories about hope, humanity, and connection ended up trapped in silence, fear, and entitlement. But Shirley MacLaine's not letting that silence win this time. She sounds determined to drag the truth into the light. The irony cuts deep. Rob Reiner gave the world The Princess Bride and Stand By Me films about innocence, loyalty, and moral choices. Yet his own life ended under the shadow of the same darkness he once explored on screen. Shirley said Rob often talked about Stand By Me, especially that haunting moment when childhood innocence finally slips away. Rob Reiner always understood that darkness can live inside young men. He built his legacy around that truth. He wasn't naive, not at all. But what he never imagined was that one day, that same darkness would be sitting right across from him at his own breakfast table. That thought alone makes this story hit harder than any typical Hollywood headline. It's not gossip, it's tragedy in motion. This is a real-life story of love, power, denial, and consequences colliding in the worst way possible, and it's all unfolding right in Los Angeles. Prosecutors are now said to be weighing special circumstance charges, the kind that carry California's toughest penalties. Even if the harshest outcome is unlikely under the current governor, life without parole is very much on the table if Nick Reiner is convicted. Imagine his reality right now sitting alone in a downtown LA cell, slowly coming back to clarity, realizing the safety net that always caught him has completely vanished. The parents who made the calls, who paid the bills, who fixed the fallout gun forever because of actions that can never be undone. There's no one left to protect him now. And then came the line from Shirley MacLaine that stunned everyone. When asked how she felt about Nick's future, she didn't ask for revenge or even forgiveness. She said she hopes he lives a very long time. At first, Shirley's words might sound cold, but they weren't. She explained it with clarity and calm. She doesn't want revenge. She wants accountability. She wants Nick to live long enough to truly feel the weight of what he's done. Every single day. In Shirley's eyes, this isn't about punishment, it's about balance. She believes karma moves slow, but it never misses, and one way or another, that reckoning always arrives. Meanwhile, funeral plans are being handled quietly and with deep care. Roy and Jake are doing everything possible to protect their parents' legacy from turning into a media circus. No cameras, no headlines, just dignity. But even without the public spectacle, the grief is spreading through Hollywood like a shockwave. It's heavy, It's real, and it's everywhere. Statements from longtime friends, like Billy Crystal, are short and raw, just disbelief and heartbreak spilling through the words. But the emotion cutting through louder than sadness is Shirley's anger. And honestly, that anger matters. Because someone finally needed to say it straight. This wasn't just a tragedy, it was a systemic failure. A failure to step in early, to take the warning signs seriously, and to admit that love alone can't fix what's already broken. Shirley didn't sugarcoat it. She said sometimes, the people we love most are the ones we need the firmest boundaries with. Protection doesn't always look soft, it can mean hard choices and painful distance. Her words aren't easy to hear, and they're not supposed to be, but they're forcing Hollywood to face what it usually hides. The danger of silence, the cost of entitlement, and the damage done when power protects instead of prevents. This story stopped being about one family a long time ago. It's about a whole culture that keeps looking away until it's too late. And Shirley MacLaine sounds determined to make sure that discomfort finally turns into accountability. But now, there's another layer that's just as uncomfortable to talk about: the estate. Yeah, money talk feels wrong in the middle of grief, but in this case, it's impossible to ignore. Legally, things are complicated. Under California's Slayer statute, if Nick Reiner is convicted, he's completely cut off: no inheritance, no assets, nothing. All of Rob's lifetime of work, from Seinfeld and All in the Family royalties to his film earnings, would go straight to Jake and Roy instead. But here's the question no one wants to say out loud: do they even want it? Shirley shared something quietly heartbreaking. Roy told her she doesn't care about the estate at all. She just wants the house gone, sold, torn down, erased from the map. She said she can't picture anyone ever living there again, and honestly, who could blame her? That place isn't a home anymore. It's a graveyard of fear and pain, a space where love tried to survive, but peace never did. As the trial in January gets closer, more details are bound to surface, whether the family's ready for them or not. And through it all, Shirley MacLaine's voice keeps echoing like a warning, reminding everyone that silence, protection, and denial always come with a price. Stories long buried are about to resurface: arguments, failed interventions, and every moment Rob Reiner tried to set boundaries only for Nick to push back harder. We're going to hear about the times Rob tried tough love and how it was met with anger, resentment, and retaliation. And those missed chances, the ones everyone tiptoed around because no one wanted to make things worse, they're all coming out now. This is where Shirley's words cut the deepest. She warned everyone not to call this a sudden breakdown or some random tragedy. It was a slow-motion collision. A disaster everyone could see coming but felt powerless to stop. Not because the warning signs weren't clear, but because confronting them felt uncomfortable. Rob Reiner believed fiercely in people in fairness, justice, compassion, and above all, family. Those values shaped everything he touched, both in his art and in his life. But the heartbreaking irony is that those same values, the kindness, the patience, the hope, left him unprotected. His faith in love and second chances blinded him to the danger quietly growing inside his own home. This isn't just the loss of a Hollywood icon, it's the unraveling of a legacy. Not because of fame or outside forces, but because of untreated mental struggles, unchecked entitlement, and the silence of people who should have spoken up sooner. Shirley ended her talk with one final thought so heavy, the room reportedly went silent after she said it. Shirley said she believes Rob is finally at peace, free from fear, reunited with his father, Carl. In her view, his spirit's no longer trapped in pain, but the real struggle belongs to the ones still here, the people left behind to face the grief, the anger, and all the questions that may never be answered. She shared something raw, something no publicist would ever approve, and it hit hard. She said, "Forgiveness isn't guaranteed. Healing doesn't follow a schedule, and pretending it does only hurts more people. No spin, no rehearsed sympathy, just truth. And that truth isn't easy to sit with." At the end of the day, Shirley MacLaine isn't trying to be a symbol or a spokesperson. She's just an older woman who lost a dear friend and is furious it ever got this far. And maybe that kind of raw honesty is the most genuine way to honor Rob Reiner right now. No filters, no rewriting the story, just the truth the way Rob himself would have told it. Shirley's done protecting reputations. She's focused on saying what really happened, even if it makes people squirm. The investigation's still moving forward, and every day brings another clue, another piece of the puzzle. But as the picture becomes clearer, one thing stands out: it's not complicated, it's human, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreak layered with silence, denial, and too many missed chances. People aren't following this story for gossip or shock value. They're watching because accountability matters. The ones who were lost deserve a full reckoning, not whispers, not shortcuts, and definitely not quiet cover-ups. This isn't a movie. There are no alternate endings, no rewrites, no second takes for the Reiner family. The joyful chapters are gone, replaced by a silence that doesn't fade when the cameras shut off. And what sticks the hardest isn't the headlines or the rumors, it's an image Shirley MacLaine can't shake. Rob Reiner standing by his window just weeks before it all fell apart, watching the driveway, waiting for his son, and feeling fear inside his own home. That's the image that haunts everyone who's heard this story. That's the real loss, the part Shirley refuses to let be forgotten or softened with time. She won't let this tragedy turn into a footnote or fade into comfortable silence. And as the case continues to unfold, more truth will surface, not for drama, but because pretending it away would only repeat the same silence that allowed it all to happen. The conversation isn't about scandal anymore, it's about truth, consequences, and the courage to finally face what everyone ignored for far too long. There's another video on your screen right now, diving even deeper into the biggest celebrity drama shaking Hollywood. Don't miss it. It's got the twists and behind-the-scenes details everyone's whispering about. Tap that video to keep watching, and if you're into real stories with no filters, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss what's coming next.